B-TIC learning community. Thank you very much for choosing B-TIC as your learning partner. This is about your SPSS analysis that you do for your research that you do for your degree or for your course. Now, to understand SPSS, I'm trying to use a research case study here. So it's easy for us to understand the SPSS tests when I run those. So the case is this. In a country, there's a city with full of diabetic people. So the government wants to study what are the key factors influence diabetes. So government did the literature review, the researchers, in fact, they did the literature review, and they developed a conceptual framework like this, where they found out diabetes is the problem. It is the DV, dependent variable, and they found out two key factors, that is the food and the exercise, that influence diabetes. So food is the IV and the exercise is also the IV. So there are two IVs here. Based on these IVs and the DV, we have developed a hypothesis. The first hypothesis is the food influence diabetes, and the second hypothesis is the exercise influence diabetes. So based on this, we have developed the conceptual, the research objectives as well, which is to study. The first objective is to study the influence of food on diabetes. The second is to study the influence of exercise on diabetes. And based on these objectives, we can develop the question as well, research question, where the first question is, does food influence diabetes and does exercise influence diabetes? Right now, based on these conceptual framework, hypothesis, research objectives, and the research question, we have to measure diabetes, food, and the exercise so that we can run the test in SPSS. So in order to do this, I have developed two indicators for food to measure food. Food consumption, in fact, where the first indicator is the amount of protein that particular people they consume, amount of carbohydrate they consume. If you can measure those two, you can measure the food they consume. And the exercise measurement, I'm using the distance they walked and the distance they ran on a particular day. So that also can be measured together. Then you can measure the exercise as a whole to do the studies. Now, to collect this data, you have to collect the data from those people using a questionnaire. So this is the questionnaire. In this questionnaire, I'm giving this questionnaire for 10 people. Sample size is 10. In fact, sample size 10 is not enough because it's a big city, too many people living. But I'm taking this 10 respondents in here. The reason is because to make our analysis easy for us to understand what we do. So 10 people. Now the questionnaire, starting with the gender, I'm asking the gender from them. So gender analysis will be, I'll ask what is the gender first, then after that I'll be collecting data to measure the food, exercise, and the diabetes. So to measure food, I have got two questions, as I said before, which is the protein consumption and the carbohydrate consumption, and I have given the answers for all those questions. They'll pick one of those answers. And I have given the other question here, which is the distance walked and the distance ran to measure exercise, where I have given the answers here as well. The first answer is 500 to 100 meters. The last answer is the 2,501 meter to and above. So they'll pick one of those answers in here. They'll mark it. And the last measurement I have to take here is the diabetes. So that they would use a glucometer, take the blood sample, and they'll measure the diabetes using the glucometer. Then they'll get the measurement like this. So they will pick one of those answers here. Okay. So when I collect all this data, the next thing is about to use the SPSS software to enter this data, then analyze it. So I see you in the next session with the next part of this SPSS training. Thank you very much for choosing B-TIC as your learning partner.